Great days and glorious victory! My name is Spifflemonk, and welcome to one of the most requested Let's Plays I have ever done. Seriously, I have so damn many requests for this, it's frightening. Anyway, welcome to BioShock. Interesting title. I have no idea what it's about. I once again did no research on starting this, so going in blind. Here we go. New game, easy difficulty, and go for it. The game's introduction plays out as the screen shows a view from inside an aircraft. The iconic opening scene plays out, and Spiff watches for a bit. 1960? That's a long time in human years. Mid-Atlantic? We are in an aircraft apparently. Need to look that up. Spiff grabs his trusty notepad and scribbles something down as the cutscene carries on. His face goes slightly pale as the sound of an aircraft being hijacked goes off in the background, before his character is underwater and struggling to breathe. Oh, the Mid-Atlantic is an ocean. Okay then. Spiff heads up to the surface, and his face goes a bit pale at the sight of the wreckage and burning everywhere. Oh dear, where do I go? Where do I go? Oh! Structure over there. That's where I go. Go, dude, go! Spiff scrambles along the path, cringing in fear at the flames following pools of jet fuel, and eventually scrambles onto the stairs on dry land. He enters the lighthouse on the small rock and makes a note on how damn dark it is. The door closes behind him. Oh shit! I've seen this in games before. When the door closes behind you by itself, that's never a good sign. The lights flip on, illuminating the dark room fully, displaying BioShock's famous Art Deco building style. Spiffle, however, gets yeeted out of his seat by a statue staring at him with a banner under it. Bah! Fuck! I told you! I told you! He grumbles as he gets back into his seat and resumes, taking a closer look at the statue. No gods or kings, only man. That's an odd slogan. Well, I got myself into it. Let's go. Spiff follows the pathway down and notes the beautiful architecture of the game as he heads down into the bathysphere room. He looks up and gets a bit of a spook again at the statue down at him again. He scoffs and heads inside the bathysphere. The game's iconic introduction plays out. The entire time Spiffle has a brow raised, confused as to what's going on. The game's intro cutscene plays, and Spiff gets the bejesus scared out of him again as a giant squid swims past the screen. Spiff collects himself, and his jaw hits the floor. By the mother's tits! It's a city! Underwater? What? The sequence plays out, and Spiff gets more and more astonished at the sight of the city as it unfolds, visibly cringing in terror at the sight of the whale moving through the depths. Calm down, Spiff. It's not going to hurt you. It's just a really big fish. He enters the city tube for the bathysphere station and sees the advert poster for the telekinesis plasmid. Wait a minute! Does this game have witch powers too? The sphere enters the station, and the scene with Johnny and the game's first mini-boss enemy plays out. Spiff pays attention and visibly dry heaves as the splicer rips Johnny's guts out in a rather vicious manner. The blood-curdling scream of hatred and rage coming from the strange creature makes Spiff jump out of his seat as the creature jumps on the bathysphere and tries to tear it open. What in the balling blazes is that thing? Please tell me I don't have to fight that! Atlas introduces himself, and Spiff has his first game objective. Oh, finally! Direction. Gods below! Let's get started. The splicer says, I'll wrap you in a sheet. And Spiff goes, No thank you, in response. He seems a bit lost in the atmosphere of the game. Atlas springs the trap and illuminates the splicer. The alarm goes off and Spiff watches it unfold. Well, turrets and automated gun drones. Seems about normal. For humans, anyway. Spiff moves forward and engages with the game's first real enemy, a standard thuggish splicer, and beats him with the pipe wrench. When it's finally down, Spiff has the chance to actually look at him. What in the actual balls is that thing? I'm gonna be sick! Spiff leaves his seat and retreats into the bathroom, where he retches puke. The game shows that the majority of humans in this game, despite the dated graphics, are horrendously mutilated with swollen lips, bandages, and strange cysts all about them, as if an art student high on LSD got a hold of a plastic surgeon's patient ward. Spiff returns a bit later due to Francine's editing skills, and he is visibly shaken. That is horrifying. Please tell me all the enemies in the game aren't like this. Spiff looks about a bit and walks up the stairs, following the voice of a vending machine. Following the game's prompts, he visibly dry heaves as the character forces a large needle into his arm. The scene plays out as if the character is being electrocuted from the inside out, and the entire sequence makes Spiff visibly sick. Genetic code is being What? Oh! Gene splicing? That practice has been outlawed for generations! This is an entire game about it! A cutscene plays, showing two splicers wandering about, and Spiff retches at the sight of the splicer's face and mask as it gets close. The Big Daddy approaches, brandishing his huge drill arm. Please tell me I'm not going to have to fight that thing. The sequence continues and Spiff's eyes darken. His skin goes pale, and he stares into the camera with his now infamous death glare. Is that a child? Are you fucking serious? Why is she carrying a giant syringe? And what is that thing? What is that, Mr. Bubbles? What the flying fuck is this? Spiff stands there, unable to comprehend what he just witnessed. His face remains pale and eyes glowing an odd rageful colour as he glares into the camera for what seems an eternity. He carries on after a bit and equips his plasmid. He accidentally hits the fire button and shoots a bolt of electricity at the wall. Wait, what? Oh, that's what he meant by fistful of lightning. So I can shoot bolts of lightning from my hand now? Oh, splicers? Gene splicing? Okay, well, that makes sense. The child doesn't, though. That odd metal golem with the bulb head doesn't make any sense at all, though. What is this hell? Spiff follows the prompts and hits the door release with the electrobolt, and heads down into the flooding passage. The game doesn't let him do much, though, as the wreckage from the crashed plane charges at the passage he is in, and smashes into it, flooding the hallway. Gah! No! No! What is this? Have to go? Have to go! An opposing hallway explodes from something, and Spiff jumps out of his chair a bit, as the doorway buckles and starts leaking from the sudden pressure. Spiff immediately charges into the next room as the door closes and seals behind him. The first combat scene takes place. Spiff follows Atlas's instruction and zaps the splicer with the bolt, then beats him with the wrench. A scripted event, so the splicer goes down easily. Spiff moves through and up the elevator, trying very hard not to look at the deformed mess that the people in this game have become. Spiff approaches a splicer standing over a crib, and he becomes visibly sick at the sight of this wretched creature singing a dark lullaby. He zaps her, then whacks her, only now realizing the crib isn't carrying a child, it's carrying a rather large, fancy-looking revolver. He picks it up, and Atlas starts explaining what plasmids did to Rapture. Spiff dry heaves at the mention of babies strangled in cribs. I must burn this wretched shithole to the fucking ground! Spiff carries on with the game, and encounters his first ghost. She's in a bathroom mirror, crying, as she questions how badly deformed she's become. Spiff mostly ignores it, going back to the gameplay, and encounters the first environment kill, as Alice explains what to do about splicers in water pools. Spiff hits the water and finds his new favourite thing to do in BioShock. His pale demeanour dissipates for a brief moment, and a creepy smirk appears on his face as the splicers in the water are electrocuted to death. The next sequence plays out, and Spiff's first real encounter with a Big Daddy and Little Sister play out. He follows directions and watches the child repeatedly stab a corpse on the ground, singing to herself. Her voice is distorted, broken, echoing like a ghost through the theatre. Spiff carries on down and waits at the window. A scene plays out as the splicer finds the child and Spiff dry heaves again, as the child is seen drinking something from the syringe she just used to stab a corpse. He becomes visibly enraged as the splicer hits the little sister, causing the Big Daddy to appear. The splicer is slaughtered with prejudice and slammed through the window. Oh, so that's what the drill arm thing is for. I'm going to have to fight that thing, aren't I? I am. God damn it. He goes through the next section, giggling as he electrocutes a few splicers in the water pool. He follows instructions and cheekily chuckles as a swarm of splicers drop into the electrocuted water and heads into the next area. CIA Jackal? KGB? What even is that? Damn it! Why do I always have to do so much research when playing human games? Spiff can't do much as Andrew Ryan forces a swarm of splicers at him, and Atlas opens the door just in time. Chapter 2 begins. Well, that's frightening. This is going to be one of those games, isn't it? This is Spiffle's first encounter with Andrew Ryan, and Atlas explains as much, as Spiff enters medical. Spiff heads straight to emergency access, following the game's direction and ignoring most of everything else as it becomes clear the enemies of Rapture are very much unsettling to him. He doesn't even celebrate much as he completes the hacking minigame for the first time. After defeating the ambush, he heads in and finds the game's representation of the Thompson submachine gun, one of the most iconic weapons ever made. Oh my! What's this then? A machine gun? Oh, I have heard about these. Seen them a few times in a few games, but this one looks very fancy. I like it. He flips the override switch and tests his new weapon on a few splicers, as they charge through the now open door. Unfortunately, Spiffle lacks trigger discipline, and he blows all of his ammunition on these 3 splicers. What? No ammo? Damn it! I got too excited, I suppose. I love using that thing, though. So fun. Spiff makes his way through towards medical, scoring a few more kills and becoming more unsettled, thanks to the strange dialogue heard by the denizens of Rapture. He's constantly trying not to look at any of the character models, owing to bloodstains, pustules, and hideous deformities. Spiff finally finds his way to the surgery wing to find Steinman, and encounters another ghost. The door opens and Spiff sees the posters on the wall with surgical scissors, blood marked on the walls, and a surgeon's gurney saturated in blood. Spiff takes one look at this abomination and dry heaves excessively. Spiff finally regains control and looks at the writing on the floor. Do no harm. J. Steinman. Do no harm? You call this doing no harm? Spiff dry heaves a bit more, but he soldiers on with the obligations of his subscribers weighing upon his narrow shoulders, and fights his way through medical, nearly dying to a hidden rocket turret in the corner of the lobby. Spiff fights his way, going through the motions of gameplay with little commentary, as he finally finds his way into Eternal Flame Funeral Home. There, he finds the Incinerate plasmid. The splicers nearby ambush him, following a broadcast from Andrew Ryan. Bah! There are quite a few of them, aren't they? Incinerate. Wait. Did I just pick up a magic witch flamethrower thingy? Spiff yells and uses the new weapon on the oil slick nearby, conveniently setting the splicers on fire. Spiff acquires less of a disgusted, horrified, or terrified stance, and that familiar sadistic sparkle in his eyes appears, the same one he got during his teardown playthrough.
Well, this certainly makes things a bit more interesting. Let's see. Where to now?
Atlas explains what's going on with the splicers, as Spiff makes his way through Rapture, setting every splicer he can find on the way on fire. Spiff's next target is Twilight Fields, another funeral parlor place, where he uses the plasmid to burn away ice blocking a door.
Aha! So this thing has more uses than just setting things on fire. I knew there was an actual game mechanic to this besides combat. Now, what am I here for?
He wanders around, getting blocked by doors, and finally finds his way in, immediately retching at the sight of a huge amount of blood on the floor, surrounding a corpse on a surgeon's gurney. Spiff collects himself and loots the place, before heading into the bowels of the area. He listens to the psychotic babbling of the splicer in the room ahead. Spiff receives a bit of a jump scare, as the doctor splicer in the room does a Houdini act, vanishing into the darkness. Spiff approaches the area with excessive caution, and slowly scouts around. He finds the security expert plasmid, then moves back through. The thuggish splicer jumps out in the mortuary shells and attacks, but is instantly stopped by an electrobolt and a wrench to the face.
Oh no you don't, bitch! That's what you get for jump scaring me!
Spiff walks away with a sense of satisfaction and proceeds to the next area, clearing more frozen debris in front of the dental office. He gets into an area that is most ominous, but he can't care much as he spots a very particular gun.
Is that a shotgun? It is! Woohoo!
Spiff throws caution to the wind and grabs the weapon, triggering a scripted ambush.
Oh, I get test subjects too? Come get some!
Spiff expends just a bit too much ammunition, as he gets a bit too trigger-happy, but he clears the ambush in short order and proceeds to the next point. He finds his way around and finally finds the telekinesis plasmid. He watches the little video associated with it that popped up, then had to make a choice.
What? I only have 2 slots? I have to get rid of my electrobolt or my incinerate in order to proceed? 1-2 punch or screaming on fire? So many choices. Screaming on fire!
Spiff replaces the electrobolt with telekinesis and proceeds. He gets surprised by a splicer, accidentally switching his plasmid slot while fumbling for his guns. His telekinesis spell catches a propane tank and, in a panic, throws it at the splicer. The propane tank explodes, decimating the splicer in one hit. Spiff looks at the result of his attack and smiles, that strangely familiar grin creeping across his face.
Well then, witchy powers am useful, I suppose. I guess. When you can yeet explosives at people's faces, heresy is acceptable? Gods, this feels wrong.
Spiff shakes his head. He returns to the last place he spotted Steinman and clears the debris blocking his path. He retches and nearly falls off his chair in disgust at the sight of a grotesquely deformed corpse sitting in a wheelchair.
No! No! God, that's horrible! What the balls happened to this place?
Spiff moves through the corridor, hacking a bot that Steinman sends to attack. He eventually arrives at Steinman's operating theatre for what is the first real boss battle. Spiff cringes in pain as Steinman plays out his delusional rant. What can I do with this one, Aphrodite? She won't stay still!
Well, you don't see that shit every day, Spiff says.
Spiff watches the sequence play out, and as Steinman spots him and says, "Ugly!" Spiff uses his telekinesis and grabs a chair.
Right, we'll do this preemptively.
Steinman shatters the glass with his machine gun. Then, as it clears, Spiff yeets the chair at him. A 1 in a million lucky shot gets Steinman in the head with full force, resulting in Spiff one-shotting a boss for the first time ever in a game.
Take that! Wait, what? He's dead? I got him with 1 shot? No, that's impossible. Is there something else here?
Spiff is unable to comprehend he just won a boss fight with no effort, and wanders around the room looking for surprises, finding none.
Well, okay then. I guess I won. Well, I have the key. Let's go to the next bit then.
Spiff follows the arrow leading him to the next spot. A Big Daddy explodes through a window and a cutscene plays out. A splicer approaches a little sister.
Oi! Oi! You get away from that!
The splicer is shot twice by a new character, Tenenbaum. The cutscene plays out and Spiff becomes increasingly agitated through the entire sequence. Finally, Spiff is able to control his character again, and takes a closer look at the little sister as she desperately crawls away from him.
What in the actual fuck? Glowing yellow eyes? Fetid, jaundiced skin? That voice. Oh, I have two options here. Rescue? What would happen if I did that? Would it be human again or something?
Spiff goes for the rescue option, and shivers a bit in a mix of anger and disgust as the sequence plays out. Once done, the little sister returns to something that resembles normal, giving a cute little curtsy and scrambles into the hole in the wall nearby.
Well, I guess I know what I'm doing for this playthrough.
Spiff returns to medical, and is prompted to take on a Big Daddy. This fight proved to be considerably more difficult than his fight with Steinman. Spiff approaches one and attacks, using an electrobolt to try to stun one, then using his shotgun to score a few choice hits. The Big Daddy retaliates.
Holy shit! This thing is really bloody hard to kill! Come on!
A combo of stun and shotgun blast seems to do the job, but Spiff doesn't get out of it without taking damage. The Big Daddy goes down, and Spiff breaks into a bit of self-congratulatory squawking. His first real boss fight in the game, and he came out on top, though with depleted ammo and Eve. He stops mid-victory strut and sees the little sister walk up to the corpse and start weeping next to it. Spiff gets that all-too-familiar death glare as he listens to the child cry. He rescues her, but maintains that death glare. Spiff remains dead silent for the remainder of the level, surviving through the ambush before entering emergency access and heading to Neptune's bounty. When the next level starts, Spiff pauses the game and takes a moment to breathe.
It truly terrifies me sometimes to see the lengths humans will go to bring detail to a world. You put that in the game. The sight of, albeit a twisted horror version of a child, weeping over the body of her dead father. It truly scares me sometimes as to just how much work you're willing to put into something just to elicit a response from another person. That broke me a little bit. Soldier on, though. Soldier on. Let's do this next one and try not to do things. Spiff returns to his chair and the death glare slowly fades, replaced by an expression of horror as he unpauses the game, noting the mutilated corpse of his smuggler hanging from the room against a wall. Spiff ignores it, loots the area and encounters a spider splicer, the very same one from the start of the game. The first thing he encounters is a Big Daddy with a little sister in tow. He wastes no time and attacks. Find peace in the void!
Spiffle's battle cry echoes through his office, and he charges the Big Daddy with shotgun and machine gun, going with his expensive but useful strategy of shock, hit. The Big Daddy goes down with little effort. Spiff can't help but question his sanity, as the little sister goes to cry a bit by the corpse before being rescued. The introduction to Peach Wilkins makes Spiff a bit annoyed.
Son of a bitch! Point A to point B. Now I got to go to point C, D, E, and F just to get to B. I hate these padding sequences. But research camera? That sounds useful. Very useful.
The spider splicer attacks, but this scripted fight takes Spiff by surprise. Unable to even put a dent in it, he barely manages to get it to go away. Eventually, Spiff encounters a gatherer's garden and buys both a plasmid slot and a new plasmid, Winterblast. He gets lucky and gets attacked by a nitro splicer. He shocks it, freezes it, then goes in for the kill with a wrench. The nitro splicer, however, dropped a grenade at his own feet, and he explodes, shattering.
Wow, that was fun. I think I found a new favourite.
Spiff's demeanour changes a bit as he gets deeper into the game at this point, certain aspects notwithstanding. Spiff eventually finds the research camera and takes the picture of the spider splicer. He takes an action photo and scores an A on the card. The spider splicer now weak enough for him to fight it. He goes out into the hall and fights, winning against the 3 that attack.
Can I take photos of everything? I hope so. That'll make it easy. Now, Peach Wilkins. What an odd name.
Spiff goes to Wilkins' door and enters, depositing his guns in the pneumo.
God, that's questionable. One might say, fishy.
Spiff aims at the camera. In his first ever pun, he looks up at the Fontaine Fisheries sign. Francine, Spiffle's editor, puts in a drum sting.
I kid. Ha! I can do this comedy stuff too. Where was I? Oh, yeah. I just lost all my guns. I'm entering a strange area and I'm being warned about questionable behaviour. Logic denotes a difficult boss fight.
Spiff ignores the dialogue and enters the battle in earnest, making note of frozen explosive barrels and heavy ice everywhere. Spiff kills a few splicers and goes for Wilkins, hitting him with Electrobolt and Winterblast, and eventually whittling his health down. Spiff takes the chance to occasionally snap a photo of Wilkins. Unfortunately, Wilkins is a boss and doesn't really count towards the research system. Eventually, Spiff manages to kill him, and proceed to the next location. Spiff makes no comment on the next ghost encounter, and flashbacks to his character's history. Spiff presses the lever on the control panel, and a cutscene plays out.
This seems a bit questionable. Why do I feel like this is a trap?
Pieces of debris fall on the window, blocking the view of the submersible as Andrew Ryan speaks.
Yep, it's a trap.
Spiff rolls his eyes a bit and fights his way through the splicers to the next area. As he enters the dock, the sub explodes. Spiff's face changes to his signature death glare.
It was a trap! Oh dear, that poor man.
Spiff enters the next level, Arcadia, and is genuinely shocked when the entire place is basically an underwater forest.
What in the balls? Is Arcadia a forest? Oh, wait. Underwater city. Needs oxygen. Oxygen comes from trees. Therefore forest. Why did it take more than 30 seconds to register that concept? I must be losing my mind.
Spiff wanders through and encounters a splicer, begging for help.
Help? Help you? Why would I do that? This is another trap, isn't it?
The splicer takes Spiff on a quick jaunt through the back alleys. Spiff gets a lucky shot with his Electrobolt at the splicer, only for it to disappear.
I know it's a trap! Things only disappear like that in games when it's a trap! You can't fool me! Come here and take your beating!
Spiff chases after it with fire in his eyes. Spiff isn't fooled by the trickery and hits the splicer twice before it manages to disappear on him again. The splicer finally engages and starts hurling fireballs at Spiff, and manages to snap a picture of it with the camera.
Houdini splicer? Houdini? What's a Houdini? Damn and blasted balls, why do we always have to do so much research when I play human games? It never ends.
Spiff pauses the game, scribbles something on a notepad, and then finishes the fight. He proceeds to the next area, and Andrew Ryan starts the next phase. The death of Arcadia, by flooding the air supply with defoliants to kill the trees. Spiff gets directed to Julie Langford, a botany scientist of some kind. Spiff goes through the padding, but stays in certain areas for a bit longer than usual, owing to just how damn pretty everything in Arcadia is, compared to the rest of the game so far. Finally, he encounters Rosa Gallica, the Rose.
What in the hell? What is this plant? It's so pretty.
Spiff stares at it for a moment and wanders around it for a few moments, trying to figure out what it is. Large fist-sized roses in full bloom. Spiff scribbles another note on his notepad and wanders around it, trying to understand it.
It's clearly a plant of some kind, and a flower, but I've never seen that petal structure, bloom or coloration before. That is quite pretty. What was I doing? Oh, right. Making sure I don't suffocate.
Andrew Ryan once again shoves a wrench in the machinery and kills Julie, who uses her last breath to write a code in the window. Spiff gets through the door and enters the code, 9457, into the safe before returning to the table, only to find a new toy for him to play with, the chemical thrower.
What's that then? Chemical a fallen thrower? Mine, I say! Mine!
Spiff laughs in a rather disturbing manner as he loots the rest of the office and listens to the journal entry made by Julie Langford. Rosa Gallica, distorted water, chlorophyll and honeybee spit.
Rosa Gallica? Right, that pretty flower. Distilled water? Easy enough. Chlorophyll, which I believe is an ingredient in base chemistry. Okay. And honeybee spit? I know what spit is, but the fuck is a honeybee? Well, something to add to the to research later list then.
Spiffle scribbles something on his notepad again and resumes gameplay, choosing to go for the distilled water first. It turns out to be an easy goal, as the stuff is almost everywhere, especially near the bar area in the market. He then proceeds to grab the chlorophyll, again acquired via random crafting ingredients, and finally encounters the apiary, containing honeybee nests.
These are honeybees? It's just a swarm of particles. Is that real? Well, I suppose if it's like that, I guess it's a small creature or small thing, so best these graphics can do is these floating swarm things. They hurt, but should be easy to get. Aha! Found it! Okay, I have all ingredients. To a crafting station!
Spiff fights his way through more Houdini splices and frees 2 more little sisters before heading out towards central misting control. He fights through the swarm of splicers sent by Ryan, and finally beats the tar out of the last splicer in the area before heading towards the vector. He marvels as the switch is pulled, resulting in all of Arcadia's greenery returning to life. Leaves perked up, flowers bloomed, and Spiff genuinely enjoyed the sight. Spiff grabs some loot from the area and heads to Fort Frolic, the home of Rapture's greatest and most disturbing psychopath, Sander Cohen. Spiff walks in and goes through the scene, and the bathysphere room makes him visibly sick as his skin changes to a lighter shade. The bathysphere closes and Sander Cohen blocks all radio traffic coming from Ryan and Atlas. The mood immediately shifts to the scene of Sander's art rising from the ground, what looks to be flimsy-looking statues of people in various poses, hanging from the ceiling, moving and swaying about. A large New Year's Eve rabbit mask slowly rises from the area as strange discordant music plays. Spiff hears the sound of Sander's voice for the first time, and visibly shakes. So very creepy. Spiff watches the disturbing display for a bit longer, and then proceeds to the next area, following the arrow pointing him to where he needs to go. Spiff encounters a new kind of hazard, trap lines, and unfortunately doesn't notice them. He takes heavy damage and loses 2 first aid kits worth of life, before he finally notices how to destroy the shock traps. Damn it! Those are well hidden. Either that or I'm blind and stupid. Either way, at least I know how to beat them. Bolts in one end, shoot the bolt, trap breaks. I need more first aid kits then. Right, where do I go? Oh, the Fleet Hall.
Odd name. God, why is this guy's voice so disturbing?
Spiff wanders around as Sander brings his pitch to the story, his entire shtick giving Spiff the heebie-jeebies the whole time. Spiff wonders about the odd statues and notices red coloration coming from them. He dismisses it, thinking it's just an aesthetic choice. The stairs are lit up as Sander lights up the way to the next area, and soon Spiff finds himself in the theatre. The noise of an argument of some kind is heard, mixed with the sound of a piano playing. A masked splicer by the name of Fitzpatrick is at a piano covered in dynamite, and is trying to play a tune while being yelled at by Cohen. Fitzpatrick yells back in defiance, and the piano explodes.
Well, shit. His performance wasn't that bad.
Spiff follows the instructions by Cohen, and takes a photo of Fitzpatrick's corpse, then returns to the atrium. When Cohen reveals the quadtitch, Spiff visibly retches at the thought for some reason.
Why are these old statues so disturbing? Maybe it's just this guy. Cohen, was it? He's creeping me out just a bit too much.
As a reward for the first picture, Spiff receives the crossbow. He picks it up, shuddering at the way it was delivered, through another creepy statue, and gets the objective to kill 3 targets. The first of which being Martin Finnegan, whose home seems to be in the frozen tunnels of Poseidon Plaza. It turns out that Finnegan is a Houdini splicer.
Oh dear. Is this going to be a trifecta mini-boss battle thing then? It is, isn't it? I need more ammunition.
The screen freezes over as Martin Finnegan plays his part, Spiffle retching slightly as he knows the dialogue. This guy is just as sick as Cohen, apparently. Spiff is released from his freezing prison and wanders about, just as he's attacked by splicers. Too busy engaged in combat, he beats all the waves of enemies before the last fight, taking a bit longer than usual before finishing off Finnegan and taking his picture. Spiff stops, pauses for a bit, and goes for a short walk around his office.
God, why do I really hate being in this place? It's so creepy. This whole area is just made of
Spiff returns to his seat after pacing around for a bit. He loots the place, returns to the atrium, and puts the next picture in its frame. Spiff encounters a big daddy and little sister as he enters the atrium, and engages in a fight. This one's a bit tougher for some reason, and Spiff has to use precious grenade launcher ammo to kill it, but wins eventually.
Gods above, why does it feel like these fights are getting harder? Well, at least I'm winning them anyway. Let's see, rescue— Damn it!
Spiff hits the wrong button, and harvests the little sister instead of rescuing her. Tenenbaum admonishes him, as the child screams through the sequence. Spiff's characteristic death glare now reappears. He pauses the game. He stands up, screams in rage in the middle of his room, and yells a few Eridani slurs that Francine graciously censors. Spiff returns to his seat, loads the last save, just before the fight with Finnegan, and does the whole sequence again. On returning to the atrium, there's no sister or daddy this time, so he resigns himself to just putting the picture in the quadtitch. It is about now that Spiff notices something. The statues.
Wait a minute. I saw this while fighting that other guy. These aren't— They're not statues. They're corpses. These are bodies cast in plaster. Oh God, I hate this place.
Spiff pauses the game and shudders in visible discomfort as he considers everything he saw thus far. Sander Cohen is using people's bodies for art, and not even good art, at least to Spiff anyway. He remembers the nonsense from earlier and performs a hard save when he hears the great thumping footsteps of a nearby Big Daddy.
Never do that again.
Silas Cobb is the next target, a nitro splicer with an especially aggressive demeanour who tosses bombs every which way. Luckily, Spiff isn't as stupid as he thinks he is, and he uses his telekinesis to toss the bombs back at him. After a long scuffle and a splicer attack, Spiff takes a photo of Cobb's body, looting a bit, then returning to the atrium at Cohen's request. On placing the third picture, Sandra Cohen has a bit of an artistic meltdown, and sends a few waves of splices Spiff's way.
I knew this guy was insane. Well, they're all insane, aren't they? Kind of a theme going here. What do you call an insane person who's more insane than everyone else? Is there something in human language that does that? Need to look that up.
Spiff faces Cohen's artistic tantrum and is attacked by a swarm of splicers. This is where Spiff has his first death playing the game, as too many come at once for him to deal with.
No! No, too many! What? From there and there and... No! Explosives! My health is to... Ah! Damn it!
Spiff respawns, but now he's out of first aid kits. He reloads the save for the second time and readies himself. This time he's smart about it. He places trap bolts at various spots, and even a few mines from his grenade launcher, then starts the sequence.
You won't do that again.
Spiff's voice is serious and monotone, and the fight starts. Spiff's trap placement is on point, and the first wave is beaten easily with little effort. The second wave gets mostly taken up by the mines, and the last wave is beaten by gunfire and plasmids. Spiff smugly smiles, and proceeds towards Eve's garden. Spiff looks at the ghosts, the spots and everything else, a pole and a stage, and looks at the camera.
Oi! What's all this then?
Spiff reaches into a drawer and puts on a pair of fake eyebrows he got as a comic gift from an office friend, and looks at the camera with an incredibly judgmental expression for a minute or two, tapping his arms impatiently. He maintains that expression, glaring at the camera for a bit with the fake eyebrows still in that judgmental expression, as he plays the rest of the sequence through Eve's garden, a gentleman's club. He eventually finds the last target, a nitro splicer by the name of Hector Rodriguez. This particular fight goes a little south when Spiff charges into the atrium again after him, encountering and accidentally forcing the ire of two big daddies in the area. 3-on-1, Spiff retreats and fights them, killing Rodriguez first, then putting the two big daddies down in short order, after using an enraged plasmid on one of them. A tough fight.
Wow, that one hurt. Gods! Two big boys and a boss all at once? I'm getting good at this.
Spiff puts in the fourth and final picture, and Cohen finally makes his personal appearance. Cohen is a Houdini splicer, as it turns out, and moves to admire his masterpiece. Spiff chooses to let Cohen go, not engaging and simply choosing to leave the area with all haste, as he heads to the next point, Hephaestus.
Well, this has been going on for long enough. I'm going to call it here for now. Thanks for watching, and Sandra Cohen is a creepy bastard!
Spiff's outro plays. Top comment. Sandra Cohen. Ah yes, the artist. Sadly, there are some artists within the human world who are even more insane, but they don't kill people for art. Mostly. Spiff's response.
What do you mean, mostly?
Reply. What? Never heard of serial killers? Sandra Cohen qualifies as one such monster. But anyway, haven't had any such monsters since we left Earth. It's been quiet. Good times. And also, the judgmental eyebrows? God, that was hilarious. Spiff's response.
You people scare me sometimes. And yes, I will keep those eyebrows on for the rest of the playthrough. You need to be judged after all that. Naughty.